Hey, good evening. What's up? What is up? As Steve is doing over there. It is SEC After Dark. Welcome in. The full crew is here. Welcome back, Jeb. Was your reservations good? Did you have some nice accommodations last week?
We had some fun. It was a good time.
We had some fun. There you have it, folks. They had some fun. Joining me on this awesome edition of the SEC After Dark.
Just a second, Corey. Just a second. In the first edition of the injury availability report this week, Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels is virtually faking injuries.
Oh, there you go.
Can't do it on the court anymore?
I mean,
do it in the list.
26 players, including a player that Arkansas didn't touch.
Hell yeah. Lane is playing games with Kirby. I'm here for it. All right. Joining me is Steven Willis, Jeb Beecham, Jake Thomas, Hammer and the Boss Man. What's up, fellas? What's up? We are live on a Wednesday night. This is the best night of the week. If you're missing out, you are truly missing out. This episode is brought to you by betonline.ag, your number one source for all your sports wagering needs. If you want to bet it, betonline.ag has it. With all the best odds, biggest promos, and live in-game betting with all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the game. It's not just NFL. It's not just college football, but you can bet on the NBA. You can bet on the NHL. You can bet on golf. You can bet on tennis when they're playing. Do it. They got it all. So head to the website today and get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.
And we need to talk about a little Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles. It's time to get locked on pickles. Stewart's Cajun Pickles, that is. They offer a wide variety of Cajun spice products like pickles, green beans, okra, even carrots and asparagus. It's a family-owned company on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles, they've been pleasing pickle lovers for over 20 years, and they've become the South's favorite pickle. These are truly the best pickles you will ever have. They have a strong dill flavor with a Cajun punch, no over sour taste. And this being a small business, they strive to keep the produce fresh and local from the start, keeping the final pickle product extra crispy and crunchy. You can find these pickle products online at thepickledstore.com or at your local Rouse's Market, or I think Corner Market in Hattiesburg, and even some Winn-Dixie's down there as well, or other local stores on the Gulf Coast near you. Be sure to like Stewart's Cajun Dill product on Facebook and Instagram. Try these pickles, okra or beans today. You will not be disappointed. Stewart's Cajun Dill Pickles, the South's favorite pickle.
Hey, Steve, I noticed you have a nice little picture and hang it in the Louvre. You could also hang our standings in the Louvre. Look how tight this race is.
Yeah, it's like the SEC, honestly.
I'll be right back, boys.
Okay.
Me too.
It says BRB. We need to get Jake one of those like Manning Cast BRB signs. He just sticks up in his frame there. It's just anyway, what's up, boys? These picks are tight, man. But hey, let's talk LSU Bama first. They got a tropical storm bearing down on them, right, Steve? Is that?
Well, it looks like it's going to stall out in the Gulf and might be heading more towards Houston now than the state of Louisiana. But nobody's expecting it to be much of anything more than a thunderstorm whenever it gets on land. It's just a matter of how much rain it's going to drop. It could be a rainmaker. It's going to affect the Alabama LSU game. I think that's a 60% chance of precipitation in that game. And as we saw from LSU, they do have trouble stopping a running quarterback in a rainy game. Means that Jalen Milroe is probably going to run, and a rainy game means that Garrett Nussmeier is going to struggle to throw the ball. I think rain benefits Alabama. What do you think, guys?
Well, first of all, you said rainmaker. I thought you were talking about Jeb on the basketball court, but yeah, I think if Bama has any smarts about them at all, they will. If they were thinking about any sort of quarterback run game, they might want to bust it out this game so that they can salvage their playoff hopes. I mean, Milroe is an absolute weapon. They have two really good running backs to go with him. Wish Jake was here to talk about this, but this game is going to be very, very interesting to see how, Kalen, this is the first time Kalen DeBoer's team has had to deal with these elements. Now, he's used to it in Washington because Washington's the most gloomy place in the world, but this team with him this is the first time they will have to deal
All right, Corey.
Corey's taking off again.
Because
Is this
that wasn't just me. Huh.
is this the air show here?
Yeah. Back in the cockpit,
Oh yeah,
Top Gun style.
hell yeah. This is the Blue Angels of all SEC podcasts, by the way.
Blue Angel Brady bunch. Yeah.
Hopping his F-18.
Yeah, I just did a really cool trick. Did y'all hear any of what I just said?
Yeah,
it
it was
just
just
cut
right
out
at the
the
end.
Yeah, I heard takeoff.
Oh yeah, lift off, folks.
We've reached our cruising altitude, so
Yeah.
This is your captain speaking. We are flying at 10,000 feet now. We are reaching our cruising altitude. The weather's quite nice. It's going to be partly cloudy, high of 72 degrees.
Excuse me, pilot. When are we going to land? I can't say. Why not? You can tell me. I'm a doctor.
Oh Lord. I do like the beginning.
we got to get this man to a hospital. We got to get this man to a hospital. What is it? It's a building with beds, but that's not important right now.
don't call me Shirley.
I am serious. Surely you're joking. I am serious. But don't call me Shirley.
Well, that chance of rain basically throws out everything that I said on Biscuits and SEC Live. So maybe I should have checked the weather. But I am interested in this game. It's going to be a lot of fun either way. I still think, though, Alabama's kind of had so-so running game all year. They've come alive, and depending on the game. A couple games they've had some success on the ground, but other games they really haven't. So I expect LSU to really try to take away the run and can obviously key in even more on the run if there's rain involved. And it depends on how hard the rain is, right? Like, is it a drizzle? Are we getting some steady rain? What does that look like? Because otherwise, if it's light, maybe Garrett Nussmeier still has a chance to throw the ball. I really like LSU's weapons if the rain is light and if, maybe it passes, right? Maybe the chances go down as we progress towards Saturday. But LSU's weapons with Kyron Lacey and all those guys, I said this on Biscuits and SEC Live earlier, but if you look at the plays, plus 10, plus 20, plus 30, Alabama ranks in the middle to the back half of the conference on giving up those big plays, those big chunk plays. LSU ranks in the top half of the conference in plus 10, plus 20, plus 30-yard passing plays. So if Garrett Nussmeier in this offense is able to throw the ball, I think LSU has a really good shot, especially at night in Death Valley.
Yeah, with the rain happening, if the rain comes in, I think it's advantage Alabama. If it's dry, I think it's advantage LSU.
Yes,
at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a soggy field is advantage offense in all things. And Ryan Williams, who's only 17 years old, in case anybody is unaware.
Yeah, he couldn't vote.
He could not vote. We heard that joke all Tuesday, and he is going to make life difficult for the deep shots for the LSU defensive back. So it's going to be zone read, throw it up to Ryan Williams, and I think that's the whole game plan.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. I mean, I think, with the soggy field and in the rain or whatever, pass rush is going to be non-existent because they're not going to be able to get their footing, and it's going to be kind of a slogfest. So if a quarterback can get his footing and can at least just get the ball out without too much trouble, he's going to have some time. So that's going to be, if it's not like just buckets of rain coming down, if it's just kind of wet and just kind of raining a little bit and just kind of wet, I think the quarterbacks are going to feast in that situation.
All right, here's my 2 cents. Boss man, you brought up a great point. If Nico, I am a lava, whatever.
Yeah,
I love your mama.
Yeah, I love your mama. I am lava, whatever. If he would have actually connected on some of the deep shots against Alabama, they would have tore Alabama a new one, honestly. The other thing is Milroe, he was rattled from the first snap and in Neyland Stadium. He's definitely going to be rattled at Death Valley, especially at night. And if it's raining, it's just going to be that much worse. So he's going to have to calm down, get his sense about him, and make plays for Alabama if we got a chance here. And I just don't know, because like you also alluded to, Alabama has weapons at running back. They just don't use them. We talked about, Auburn not using Jacquez Hunter. We don't use our two or really three good backs. I don't know why, but there's like, well, they shut out against Missouri. Missouri is just garbage on defensively. I think it was more telling about how terrible Missouri is and has been than it was about Alabama, a couple weeks ago. So
it's funny to hear Jake as the long-suffering Alabama fan.
Well, I'm a real fan.
Yeah,
I'm a real fan. And we lost Jeb.
And Jeb's like, okay.
Yeah.
I was propping Tennessee up and Nico, and if he could just hit some of those deep passes, he would.
He got too excited and just
he did just
click
get out. Yeah.
So, I mean, what I'm interested to see, and y'all brought it up, right? Both these teams coming off of a bye week, and the last time we saw specifically LSU, they got torched by A&M on the ground with the quarterback in particular. So Kalen DeBoer and Alabama have to have that in their game plan, right? They're gonna have to be trying to use Milroe's legs, and then on the flip side with LSU, they've had a couple weeks to prepare now. Can they they're going to be prepared? To me, it's less of how prepared they are to stop that and just how capable are they? Do they have the personnel to tackle in space when Milroe gets to the outside? Because they didn't against A&M. I mean, we talked about it, right? Like, I get that they didn't prepare for Marcel Reed, but the zone read is not a new concept, right? And they still didn't know how to stop it. So, maybe it's more of a personnel thing where they don't have the guys that can tackle in space, and if Alabama can take advantage of that, then LSU could be in trouble, because I don't think LSU is going to run the ball well. So it's going to be on Nussmeier as usual, right? And so if he's throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game, that just gets tough. That's a very tough way to win if unless you're Mike Leach or somebody, right?
It is, but Nussmeier can make those deep shots and connect them. He's not going to miss accurate wise on a lot of those. I mean, he's going to be perfectly thrown balls. So Alabama's got to be ready in the secondary, especially if they can pass the ball. If it's pouring buckets, it's going to be terrible. And another thing is, if it is going to be raining a lot, look for turnovers, because that ball is going to be slippery and it could be a turnover fest for sure.
Or if they do get a rush home, or if a defensive lineman is able to reach out and poke the ball out, I mean, it'll be a lot easier for them to do so. And Jeb got scared again, I guess. Did he ever back?
Yeah, Jeb got a blue screen of death. So
no.
Oh, blue screen of death. That's good.
Oh, rip.
He's gonna pop out. He's gonna pop up at a Best Buy. He's gonna be like, all right, guys, I'm back.
Using that Wi-Fi for about 20 minutes.
The associate at Best Buy is gonna be like, he's gonna hate him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think this is tailor made for for 2 or 3 turnovers a piece, and special teams is going to be truly special here as well with the especially long field goals. Like if a team goes for like a 40-yarder or something.
Whoever turns the ball over in this game, it needs to not be a disaster turnover. It doesn't need to be a pick six.
And I will say real quick, speaking of special teams, Alabama's punt return specialist Cole Adams is out for the year, so that hurts, because now I think the next guy behind him is a freshman in Bakwe. So
let's see, LSU.
You're on mute, boss man.
I was just going to say quickly that you don't want.
If you can read lips, he just made a hell of a point.
I did. Yeah, I'm going to clip that for our social media. That was good stuff right there. Best point I've made all season. But just quickly on that you don't want a freshman in that spot.
No.
Valley at night. That's tough. That has muff punt written all over it.
Absolutely. It's scary.
Yeah.
And in the worst possible time. Although I think Alabama has lost in Tiger Stadium since 1965 or something like that, only 6 times.
Yeah.
Alabama wins that game more times than not. So I'm going to think that Alabama is going to win that game until they don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just, I'm still a believer in Alabama in this scenario and in this rivalry for whatever reason. I know, Jake, they haven't really given any of us a ton of reason to be super, I guess to be super confident. But in the off chance that they do figure out that Jalen Milroe is an absolute beast in the running game again, this could be dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just depends on what Alabama team shows up. If it's the fired up team that knows that they win out, they are in the college football playoff, then you'll see that Alabama team come out and show up and win the game. If they're still kind of playing like they have been the last couple of weeks, it's going to be a dogfight, and LSU may come out on top.
Yeah, and the loser of that game out of the playoffs. Season's done.
Out.
Yep.
Boom. Get out. Both teams are going to be fighting hard.
Get out! Get out of here!
Get down.
Get in the chopper.
Who is your dad and what does he do?
Who is your daddy and what does he do? Get down now.
Reminds me when we worked at Rivals, we're sitting there and Jason Ogg, who was the producer for Rivals Radio back in the background.
Jason Ogg, yes.
He was the original what SEC After Dark was. I think it was around the SEC back when we first started doing it. The original 3 host was me, Ogg, and Corey.
Yeah, that's right.
But Ogg would just be over there and Bill King would be like, listen here, Louisville Cardinal fans, all of that. And then in the back there, and all of a sudden you would just hear Jason Ogg go, who is your daddy and what does he do?
He would just randomly break out in all these impressions.
Yeah.
And every once, and you wouldn't hear Bill King all the time because every once he would have Bill King in his headphones, but every once in a while he would just take his headphones off and put Bill King through the speakers. And so you would hear Bill King like, Oklahoma, Tennessee, just, doing their Bob Stoops.
Hello, video Cardinal fans.
And then he would put him back in the headphones, and you hear all go, get in the chopper.
Yeah.
It's not the tuba. And then you hear Chris Childers go, call Mad Dog and tell him to fire you. That was our daily life.
Yeah, that was what it was like working at Rivals.
That was our daily life in the Rivals video room because the pit was in entirely different countries. But I felt like.
So the next topic, Jeb, Hammer, Bossman. I think we just need to get off and just let Steve and Corey just do all the talking here.
I'm interested to see what y'all have to say because I've been flip flopping on this game, so I need some intel.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my Jake sign up. I'll be right back, and I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Well, Ole Miss has the advantage because Miami women's basketball has started their season, so Carson Beck is probably in his feelings right now. So.
That went through 3 interceptions last Saturday.
No, that's just because he sucks.
All Georgia fans, that are interested in this game know this: 80% chance of rain for Saturday.
Hell yeah.
It's going to rain all day. That's advantage Ole Miss and advantage Jackson Dart. The last time he played in a monsoon, he went 30 for 40 in that game for 320 yards.
Good God.
So he can handle a wet football no matter how it goes. And the turnover machine that is Carson Beck right now, I don't think Vegas is very excited about that. Here's the other thing.
He's like Oprah when it comes to interception. He's like, you get an interception, you get an interception, you get an interception.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's a 2.5-point favorite in this game. And everybody's like, okay, that makes sense. Georgia's number 3 in the country, all of that.
Yep.
But take into account that the line has not moved one single half point since Sunday whenever it dropped, and 90% of the bets are on the Georgia Bulldogs. They are not moving that line, even though they are taking Georgia bets over and over and over again. Vegas knows something. I don't know what they owe, but they know something.
They do know something. They know that Carson Beck is a turnover machine. They know that that ETN, I about called him Travis. They know that ETN is out and banged up, and it's going to be either limited if he does play, probably out. They know that these receivers they're not really a threat. This team is like weird on offense right now because like they should be really good and they're not. But
4 and 5-star players everywhere.
I know
everywhere.
It's odd, but they just can't get going offensively either. They don't have an identity. Carson Beck is a turnover machine, and Mike Bobo doesn't know what to do with any of it, and he doesn't know how to function without Brock Bowers.
The way that I describe the Georgia Bulldogs is like a bell curve, and their bell curve is higher than every other team in college football, which means if they play their best, there's not a thing you can do about what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But the problem is they are making mistakes that bring that bell curves. They're playing down here to where other teams are in that realm. Now, Ole Miss is still going to have to play very, very well Saturday. Do not get me wrong whenever I say that. But if Carson Beck turns the ball over, it's a little bit sloppy. If the elements slow it down and bring down that bell curve a little bit, a good performance by Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is going to walk out of there with a 17-13-ish win over the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think it's a defensive game because, we know what Georgia's defense is. Even in the I guess other than the Bama game, they played very well. They shut down Texas. I think they'll be able to limit Ole Miss on the ground. The Ole Miss run game hasn't been amazing this year.
Air can limit Ole Miss on the ground.
Right. So, it's going to be on Jackson Dart, the receivers. I know Trey Harris is doubtful, I think, on the first injury report.
Trey Harris is going to play.
Well, they need him to. But then on the flip side, like
touched by Arkansas, he's listed as doubtful. And it was like, come on, Lane.
Yeah.
Doubtful
even
he's going to get cut.
like y'all said.
Yeah, right. He's virtually faking injuries. Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say that, like y'all said, right? So the Ole Miss offense, we know what they're going to need to do, and it's going to be on Jackson Dart's shoulders. But Georgia, I mean, I don't even really, like you said, Corey, they don't have an identity. I don't know what they're going to try to do in this game. And Ole Miss has a very, very good defense. So I think this will be pretty low scoring. I don't know what the over and under, the total is on this game, but
take the under on this if the weather sucks.
Especially if it's raining, exactly.
Yeah, it's 54.5 is the over under, I believe. And I don't think they're getting there. Of course, I didn't think that Ole Miss was going to get there last week, and Ole Miss hit the over by themselves.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's true.
Well, that game's drunk. Anything could have happened in that game.
Yeah. Somebody said, where was the weird thing that happened there? It's like, you don't understand what weird about the Ole Miss-Arkansas game is. The weird thing is Ole Miss set every record known to man, including the Ole Miss quarterback Cy Young unbreakable record, which fell in the third quarter of the game. Mm-hmm. That was the weird thing that happened in the Ole Miss-Arkansas game.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be close to be weird. It just has to be weird.
Right, and it was.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely nuts. I do like what Ole Miss has in this game and where they sit. I think that Ole Miss is going to be getting close to 70,000 in that stadium. The rain may keep some people from getting in there, but it'll be the first football game over 70,000 in the state of Mississippi history. I wouldn't be surprised if our RVs are on campus right now getting ready for Saturday's game.
On campus yesterday, dude. Georgia.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know much about Georgia fans, but they travel.
Oh, I am very well. The Georgia game, whenever Georgia played Ole Miss in Oxford, me and my dad would go see that game. That was our road trip game every single year that they went to Oxford. So I was there in '89 when Reed Hines caught the touchdown pass that beat Georgia 17-13. I was there in '93 when Cassius B. Ware had 4 sacks and nearly destroyed Eric Zier in a touchdown. Almost won that game as well. There's a lot of good memories I had watching Ole Miss play Georgia.
My best memory is my freshman year watching Eli Manning get destroyed in Athens, and Boss Bailey jumped from behind the line of scrimmage, didn't launch off of offensive lineman, just jumped and blocked an extra point. You know how hard that is to block an extra point like that? Much less a field goal. Like, so you can, like, if it's a low trajectory, long field goal, you can like jump up if you have like a 45-inch vertical like Boss Bailey did. But he just swallowed. It just looked like he just kept going, and he just
Michael Jordan in Space Jam.
Yeah, and the ball hit him like on the bicep. Like, he didn't just tip it. Ball freaking hit him in the bicep on an extra point, guys. Like, you know how these kickers that ball gets up immediately. That was impressive. But as far as this game goes, I just, Georgia has a chance to really just say, you know what, we've been playing like a freaking roller coaster all year long. Let's just make a statement here before Tennessee rolls into town, and let's just get after it. And what Ole Miss
that's the statement, by the way. I think against Tennessee, Georgia is going to 50 burger Tennessee.
I hope you're right. But
Sorry, Joe.
here's the thing, Steve.
Yeah, we'll see.
Chip Towers pissed off Kirby in the press conference today, so you don't know. Chip Towers is a Georgia beat writer. Him and Kirby, let's just, to put it kindly, they hate each other.
Well, what happened? Come on, we need some backstory. Give me some context.
Well, the story's really not as exciting as the fact that he pissed him off. But he asked him about like how he chooses his visors, and Kirby's like, basically, like, "What the hell is that? What are you asking?"
Oh, okay. So he's one of those beat writers. Okay.
Yeah, and he's always so giddy about bringing up the arrest, which he's had plenty of opportunities to bring those up lately. But, yeah, they just hate each other. Well,
Kirby said that Ole Miss was the best team in the SEC, and Ole Miss said that Lane Kiffin said that Georgia was the best team in the SEC. So it's a massive Lou Holtz love fest right now.
I want to read those two. I want to read the text between those two, Lane, because those have got to be epic.
I think they genuinely like each other.
Oh yeah, you know. Yeah. They're like,
and it's not like a fake like it's we used to do. The Hugh Freeze and Gus Malzahn are friends. It's like you see them talking. It's like, no, those two guys don't like each other.
Yeah, they're not friends. They're just being
not
courteous.
friends.
They're just being courteous for the cameras. No, they will. I think they actually, like, if you read their text, it's like two best friends that you're not best friends unless you read their text, and it makes you think they hate each other. Like those type, like
just talking mess all day.
Oh yeah,
talking trash about each other. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and just
quips,
trolling each other, sending each other memes, making fun of each other. Like when he lost to Alabama, pick any time he lost to Alabama, Lane always brings out that GIF where it's Saban, and then it's like Saban is the dad, and he's holding the baby, and the baby Bjorn, and it's Kirby.
Yeah.
He sent it to him on Father's Day too. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
I think Georgia's got a couple of built-in advantages in this game. I think the rain plays in their favor. I know that Ole Miss has a better rushing offense, than Georgia does right now. But this is also, one of the best defenses that Ole Miss is going to play this year, and Georgia has a pretty solid rush defense. They only give up close to 100 yards a game, a little over 100 yards a game. So if this one turns into a mud fight, with it being rainy. I would say that's advantage Georgia. And Ole Miss's offensive line has had a little bit of trouble this year as well. Georgia's defensive line's been good, and Georgia's defensive front has been good. But I think this one, if the rain holds, if it's going to look like that, 80% chance of rain, I think that plays to Georgia's advantage here.
I would disagree on that one. And that's just because I trust Jackson Dart a lot more than Carson Beck. And Ole Miss is number one in the SEC in rush defense in the normal Georgia situations. They're only giving up 80 yards a game. So if it's a rock fight, neither team should be able to run the football. If a Georgia running back goes ahead and breaks out, it's like, was it Cash Jones? It's like, where did he come from? And nobody would be surprised about that. But if it just goes to chalk, I think this game has a chance to look really similar to the 2023 Georgia-Missouri game.
Well, Georgia won that game, so I'm good with that.
That was also a home game.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going a little more off of history, Steve, because you're right. I'm not gonna say that Ole Miss doesn't have
to Missouri where they won barely on the road.
Yeah. So I guess my question to you then would be, because if there is rain, if it is heavy rain, if it makes it tough to throw the ball, obviously you would give Ole Miss the advantage in a sunny day game. If it's 65 degrees and sunny, you would give Ole Miss the advantage there, because through the air they're better than Georgia at this point in the season. It's very obvious that's the case.
If Lane Kiffin is calling plays like Lane Kiffin and not
right
15-year-old playing Madden.
Yeah, but even with the Carson Beck, turnovers, right? That kind of, even though Georgia has had some success through the air, the Carson Beck turnovers,
right,
shooting themselves in the foot. So do you expect it, if the rain does hold, if it ends up being a mud bowl, Do you think that it's going to be something like a 23-17 type of game, 28 to
17-13 is where I'm
Steve, are
at.
y'all grass or turf?
We are grass, which means that the rain will neutralize that Georgia defense, and Ole Miss's skill players will have the advantage on the outside. I see Corey sweating right now, just thinking about it.
I sweat all the time, so there you go.
Yeah. But like I said, in 2022, Ole Miss played Mississippi State, and Ole Miss ended up losing that game for whatever reason. It was weird. It was a monsoon. Jackson Dart was 30 for 40 in that game, over 300 yards passing, led a 99-yard drive for what should have been the tying touchdown. They missed the 2-point conversion. It was kind of Jackson Dart's arrival onto the scene. He's a mutter. He's somebody that I trust. His running style actually fits very well.
Tough Mudder?
Yeah. Oh. No. Okay. Just go in the corner.
I see what I did there.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move to the next game. And Corey, I'll let you take the lead on this one because this is your Locked On Vandy wheelhouse.
Yeah. So, this game's interesting because when I was, in watching South Carolina, watching how they developed, these two teams are way more similar than I ever imagined with the way they play. Now, if you look at Diego Pavia and Lenora Sellers, they're not physically the same, but they play the same. They're both elite runners.
Sellers is like two Pavias.
Yeah.
So, Sellers is like if Sellers ate Pavia twice. Yeah. He's slightly bigger. But they play the same style. They're both elite runners, extremely athletic, extremely tough and competitive, developing as passers, although Sellers has more room to grow because he's just a freshman or redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman.
Yeah. And Pavia is obviously he's done after this year. So I think Sellers has a higher ceiling, obviously, because of where they are in age. But the defenses are very similar, although, South Carolina has two of the best edge guys in the entire country, two definite Sunday players, which Vandy's going to have to contend with there. And then, the offenses are similar styles, although South Carolina, I think, took a while to figure out what they wanted to do, and that's why they struggled. But now I think they're kind of figuring it out, which is dangerous because they've got some dudes. Rocket Sanders is a dude. So they're built very similarly in how they play and what they want to do identity-wise. It just took South Carolina a little bit longer to get there. But this game, I think Vandy still does have the advantage because I think with the option game, they have the ability to, even though you could say that those defensive ends can erase any mistake that they make in the option game, but they still have a chance to put those guys in conflict and make those guys wrong and kind of neutralize those guys with the run. But they're going to have to get creative, and I think they will. And I think it's a 15-year curse. They're due for a win. I think defensively, Clark Lee knows what they want to do, and he will shut that down. And he's been really good at being a defensive coordinator and understanding what you want to do to attack and neutralizing that and forcing teams to scramble to adjust. And teams haven't been able to handle that very well. Or 6 teams on the schedule hasn't been able to handle that very well.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Vandy playing slow. And I'm going to step in a couple of times. I'm the one that was all over South Carolina last week in here.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, Texas A&M. I was all over Vanderbilt last week as well because I did mention that the way that Vandy plays offense and the way that Hugh Freeze plays offense is not compatible. There's a chance for problems that happen there. Auburn was discombobulated all day, and they panicked. They always panic.
Yep.
This is going to be a weird stylistic football game because Carolina does like to occasionally go tempo. They have Loggins is the offensive coordinator who is from the Kendall Briles kind of tree, so a lot of that stuff is in there as well. You have a quarterback run game. You can't fall into the trap. South Carolina needs to come out and front run in this game because if you allow Vandy to control what's going on, Vandy will beat you by playing so slow that you get uncomfortable. That is the whole secret sauce behind Vanderbilt. People on the defensive side of the ball cannot stand for 30 seconds between snaps. They're just not programmed to do that anymore. And Vandy takes advantage while basically using their analysis and paralysis by analysis against them with all the eye-counting movements.
Devastating patience.
Yeah.
And Vandy is very much what every offensive coordinator says they're going to be, but they never are. And Vandy actually does it. Tim Beck actually does it. Diego Pavia actually is patient, and that kills defenses. Defenses want to go. They're sitting there. They're amped up. They want to show their blitz, and they can't. They just can't hold it. And the next thing you know, it's, they struggle.
Yeah. I love watching Vandy's offense just because it honestly looks like an offense in 2002 that you would have saw what they did. And they mixed in RPOs and things like that and modernized it. It's kind of like seeing, honestly, just stylistically, I'm not saying it's the same thing scheme-wise or anything like that, but like Wake Forest in the mid-2005, 2006 range under Jim Grobe. The same kind of vibe.
Steve Lobotsky was the offensive coordinator there. He had a really good passing game. It was really effective for what he wanted to do out of multiple formations. Like the concepts weren't overbearing. They just gave you a bunch of different looks, and they would try to get the same picture from the different looks. And they did a really good job. That was Riley Skinner's heyday.
Yes. I saw Riley Skinner. Little Steve Willis story time. There was a hurricane that went through. It was after Katrina. It was the hurricane after that. I think it was Rita or something like that. Went through Oxford that night that Ole Miss was playing Wake Forest. And there was a weather delay in the middle of the game. Well, Ole Miss and Ed Orgeron decided to have a 95-play full contact scrimmage during the break and play, to the point where assistant coaches were about to get into a fight. It was an absolute mess. Now, Wake Forest used the fact that Ole Miss was worn slap out to beat Ole Miss by throwing 4 passes that night, just completely dominating the game. But the moral of the story is, do not have a 100-play scrimmage on game day. That is the moral of the story.
Yeah, I think, if you look in your coaching handbook, I think that's on like page 1. Don't have full contact practice on game day. But I think Vandy right now is like a banana peel away from Jeff Monken's Army offense, because he's kind of modernized it a little bit. I really like what he does. That and Troy Calhoun out at Air Force. Both of those offenses are like one step as far as like dynamic and integrating passing stuff.
It is one step. It's really cool to see the service academies and how they've evolved offensively. They're kind of like the separate entity, to where college football and the service academies are kind of two divergent areas of the way the offense has developed. Like when you watch a service academy game, it can look really good and really exciting. And it's not the same thing that people might remember when they watched it back in 2005. But right now they're doing some pretty fantastic stuff through that flex bone that they're used to doing.
Yeah. Now they've just backed the quarterback up, and then they moved some parts around, and they started adding more formations and things like that. Now the next step would be to start incorporating more diverse passing schemes in there as well.
Well, the problem with that's going to always be the fact that finding passing quarterbacks to go to the service academies, that's a problem. That's the reason they run the flex bone.
Yeah, they can't quite do what Vandy does because they don't have the quarterback to do it usually. But every once in a while,
never thought I'd hear that statement.
I know, that's odd, right?
They can't quite do what Vandy does.
Hobby effect.
Yeah, so matter of fact too, right? That's just so odd. But you know what's not odd?
Beating Auburn. Wait, never mind.
Picks. Picks. The lines, of course, are presented by betonline.ag, your number one source for all your sports wagering needs. Betonline.ag. The game starts here. So the starting point for our pick segment, Steve, Texas is hosting Florida. Texas is 21.5-point favorites. Florida is on their third quarterback, Yale boy, as what's his name was saying, Jonathan Davis, Yale boy. Does Texas cover this?
Yes, Texas does cover this, and it's because of Yale boy. If DJ Lagway was playing quarterback, I would probably think that Florida was going to cover the line if he was healthy. But Florida being predictable, even though they can run the ball a little bit, Texas has way too good athletes on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So you figure at best case scenario, Florida scores 10 points in this game. So the question becomes, honestly, can Texas score 32? And I just think they can. I think the defense is going to wear down by Florida, even though Florida's defense has been playing pretty well recently. But I just think that not having the quarterback and also the letdown after playing so well and coming up short against the Georgia Bulldogs, I think that on the road that's going to bite them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I just think Texas is just too much for them, simply put. And Florida was – I was going to pick this game even if Florida had DJ Lagway. I was still going to pick this just because of Texas, not necessarily because of Florida, but I think especially now that
they're back, honestly.
Yeah, they are back. So Sam Ehlinger is somewhere he just perked up. But give me the Longhorns.
I'm definitely going to agree with y'all on this. I think Florida threw everything they had into that Georgia game, and it was a good effort, but they're not going to be able to do that again with Texas. And honestly, like you said, now they've lost all their key pieces, like the quarterback. I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Texas at all. It's not a statement saying that Texas is just that good. I think Florida's just got to run out. So I'm taking Texas to cover this.
Yeah, we're taking Texas in the household here as well. If I'm with Steve though, if Lagway's playing, I probably would pick Florida just because I think he can keep it closer. But that third string guy just did not look good against Georgia, I didn't think. So I'm picking Texas here.
Yeah, Becky is taking Florida because I'm wearing her down about being a closet Florida fan.
That's just not good.
Never pick Texas.
That's just not good. We can't have her being any sort of Gator fan.
Well,
yeah, draw the line somewhere.
She's just sitting there probably picturing Matthew McConaughey and cussing right now. That's what she's doing in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
She's saying, but I can't say what she's saying.
Yeah, no, it's better not to.
So Cass is picking Texas, right? Hammer?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm riding with Becky.
Okay.
Kind of just a hope and a prayer. If Lagway is truly out and doesn't play, I think this is probably the wrong side. But as you can see in the standings, I am last, tied with Becky. So this is actually great because I could pick up a game on y'all, but not drop one to Becky. So Becky and I are riding with Florida. So go Gators.
So you're right with Becky to the bottom, looks like.
I'm already there. So that's what I mean.
You need some advice of
can only go up.
Yeah.
Do you need some advice of places to eat down there at the bottom?
Yeah.
Places to go and visit?
I think they're eating dirt, Corey. That's what they're eating.
That's what
I'm going to take – I actually I changed it up. So as you guys were talking, I went back and looked at this. And I looked up DJ Lagway, says he's questionable. He says he practiced today. Could be smoke and mirrors from Billy Napier. Don't know whether that's true or not. Don't know how much to buy into that.
You were going to say smoke and crack.
No, that's in a different part of Florida.
Very true.
But if DJ Lagway does play, I almost think that we should be able to switch our pick before this game because if DJ Lagway plays, it's a completely different game. Texas has had trouble covering the spreads this year, and Quinn Ewers is turnover prone, and we just saw how Florida played Georgia last week, especially in the first half. So I don't think Florida wins this game, especially if DJ Lagway, even if DJ Lagway does play, if he's not at 100%. Then I don't think Florida has a chance to win this game. But I'll take them to cover the spread here.
All right. All righty. Okay. All right. Georgia, 2.5-point favorites on the road at Ole Miss, and what's likely to be a rainy, muddy slop fest. Steve, you're picking Georgia, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I think that every intangible that could possibly be had in a football game Ole Miss has in this game. Georgia just has the best team in all of college football that whenever they play at their best, there's just no dealing with them. When they're at their best, they have to help you for you to defeat them. That's the way it is. But luckily this season, Georgia has shown the propensity to help teams in games and keep them in games. I think Carson Beck on the road this year has 9 interceptions, and I'm including Jacksonville is on the road as well. Only 5 touchdown passes. Decent yardage. I think he rolled up some yards against Alabama in that second half. I think if it's rainy, if it's wet, like we think it might be, it's an 80% chance of rain as of Wednesday night. If it's like that, Carson Beck is going to throw the ball to the other team at some point because Ole Miss is number one
team anyway.
Well, but he's going to throw the ball to the other team more because Carson Beck's human. I mean, shocker.
Wait, what?
And humans rely on confidence. And whenever you've thrown 11 interceptions and 9 interceptions in your last 3 true road games, currently, that has to affect your confidence. And when you add in something like, hey, now do it with a wet football, everything's going to be a little bit slower. He's going to hold on to the ball a little bit more. I think that's a situation that's going to benefit Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss wins this game 17-13.
17-13. Steve, you know how I know you're lying? You said Carson Beck was human. It's not true. Just fake news. Okay. So, no, I'm taking Georgia, man. I'm rolling with the dogs. I think this defense is going to find a way to get it done. I think they're going to find a way to get Jackson Dart off his spot. I think that these DBs are going to take it a little personal that they're going to Michael Jordan this game somehow. They're going to take something personally. And I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't think it's going to be like last year's Ole Miss game, although I hope it is, but it's not going to be. But give me Georgia by 3. Give me Georgia covering barely. A field goal win is indeed a cover with this line. So give me the dogs.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Steve. I'm gonna agree with Corey.
Yeah.
I just feel like Georgia. I feel like everybody understands Georgia is just the best team in college football right now. Mm-hmm. They're not unbeatable. I think that Ole Miss has a really, really good shot here. I didn't know about the weather when I made this pick, so that does kind of make a little bit of a difference. But honestly, I feel like Georgia's still going to pull this one out. I think it'll be real close. If this was a bigger line, I would take whichever team was down. But since it's just 2.5 points, I'm going to go with Georgia to actually cover this one and win.
The thing about it is, outside of non-Alabama teams, Georgia has dominated everybody. But I think that comes to the end this week. I'm sorry. Ole Miss is showing me something this year. They've looked – they've had their times. they look shaky against Kentucky, and Kentucky's absolute garbage. Mm-hmm. But it seems like they put it together last week. Jackson Dart's probably we've talked about it. He's probably the best quarterback in the conference, no doubt right now. He's showing that. And the defensive front for Ole Miss, I think they're going to get to Carson Beck and, like Steve said, cause him to see ghost and throw a couple picks. And that's just what Carson Beck does right now. So as of a standpoint of confidence from the quarterbacks, I'm taking Jackson Dart and I'm going to take Ole Miss. Cassidy's taking Georgia because she's a homer.
Becky's taking Ole Miss because she's a homer.
Homer. Steve, you're such a homer.
I am
such a homer. I can't believe the host of Locked On Ole Miss can't be.
If only it was in the title.
Yeah, it might as well be in the title. Jesus. Yeah.
Steve, you almost talked me into it. I was thinking Georgia. You really got me going on Ole Miss there, and you almost talked me into it earlier in the show too. But I'm not going to change my pick mid-show for the second straight pick here. I'm going to take Georgia. Mostly this game, for me, it's based on history. Georgia, like you guys have talked about, Georgia is still Georgia. They have players all over the field, 4 and 5 stars all over that roster. At some point, I think they get it going. I agree with you on the confidence issue for Carson Beck. I'm just riding with the dogs here because of history, and I think they get the job done and find a way in Oxford in the rain.
All righty.
Yeah, same here. I think this is a coin flip game to me, and I'm rolling with Georgia. Same thing, coin flip game. I'll go with history, Georgia beats everybody but Alabama. So until they don't, I'll ride with the Dogs.
Steve, you rode with South Carolina. You rode with Vandy. You're at a crossroads now. South Carolina's 3-point favorites. 3.5 favorites, depending on what you're looking at. Give it to me.
Listen, this is one of those games that I'm picking with my heart, maybe more than my head, and that's weird considering Vandy is involved.
Yeah,
I'm going with South Carolina because Ole Miss needs South Carolina to be 9-3 at the end of the year for their playoff resume if Ole Miss beats Georgia. Beat Georgia, South Carolina wins at Vandy, and all of a sudden the playoff resume for Ole Miss is looking pretty dang good. So that's kind of where I am at the moment.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of heart picking because these defensive ends for South Carolina are elite. But I do think the coaching at Vandy, this is also something I never thought I'd ever say. But Vandy has the coaching edge with Clark Lee, Jerry Kill, and Tim Beck.
It's just nuts.
Yeah.
No, right? I'm beside myself when to think about that. But anyway, give me Vandy because I think they figure out a way. I think they outcoach South Carolina and outcoach and coach their way through some of the talent deficiencies that they might have in this matchup. So give me Vandy.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I like Vandy in this one, actually, which is just a rare thing to say, but they're playing so much better this year than anything we could have really imagined coming into this. So, and South Carolina's not, although they did look very good this past weekend. So maybe they found something. I agree with you. Their defense is good, but I just like Vanderbilt in the way they play, and I'm going to keep picking them right now until they get to the Vols, and then I'll stop.
Well, y'all know me.
Still the same OG.
I'm driving that bandwagon for Vandy, and
you're Daddy's boy.
So no, I just say a good football team right here, and it's weird to say that Vandy's a good football team. South Carolina's a pretty decent football team too, but something about Diego Pavia has changed the landscape of Vanderbilt. Now, how they're going to be next year without him, they may go back to sucking again. But right now, Diego Pavia is a key in this game. Is he 100% healthy? I don't know. He's kind of looked shaky last week, but I'm just riding with Vandy right now. So give me Vandy, and Cassie's taking Vandy as well.
All righty.
Becky's taking Vandy as well.
Good choice, Becky.
Diego Stones, man. I keep picking against Vanderbilt. I've been picking against them all year, I think, except for the Texas game, which is, I have to do that. But I'm still going to ride with South Carolina. I think it is a possible letdown spot for him here after an emotional and physical win against Texas A&M. So Vandy keeps getting these teams in really good spots for them to get these wins or to cover these spreads. But here I think that South Carolina fans have been talking about Lenora Sellers since the moment he stepped on campus, about how excited they were about him. And through the course of early in this season, it was okay, right? Like we saw the potential there. You can see the athleticism. He's a mountain. I mean, the guy's like 6'5", 240 or whatever. He's like KJ Jefferson back there, but he can run. Yeah. And Texas A&M figured that out last week. So I like the development that I'm seeing from Lenora Sellers. He threw a couple great passes as well last week. So I'm going to ride with South Carolina here. I think they cover the spread, get a win. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Vanderbilt plays them close. I think it's a tough game, like it's been all year. Vanderbilt, they put you in a phone booth with a knife and say good luck. But I'm going to ride with South Carolina here. I think they're going to get the win.
Yeah, I'm riding with the Gamecocks as well. Probably a little bit of recency bias, being an A&M fan, seeing what they did to my Aggies last week. But I like that South Carolina defensive front, and I think the way Rocket Sanders ran the ball, the way Lenore Sellers ran the ball last week, maybe South Carolina found something on offense. So I'll take the Gamecocks to win and cover.
Just don't trust them to be able to do it again. But we'll see.
We'll see. All right. Mississippi State at Tennessee. Steve, are you riding with the Bulldogs?
Listen, Mississippi State, granted, has one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. It's awful. It's ridiculously bad. But I do think that Tennessee is going to have one eye on Athens, Georgia, the ABC night game in Athens the next week against the Georgia Bulldogs, potentially that's a clincher for the college football playoff at that point. Tennessee is going to get past Mississippi State. Mississippi State's not going to beat Tennessee, but 25, I think that's just a bit of a bridge too far. This game has like 38-21 written all over it. And Tennessee's going to get out and get ready for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think this one was tough for me, but I think ultimately I'm going Mississippi State just because of that very same reason. I think that they have a chance to do what they did to Georgia and just kind of lull them into sleep a little bit and score some points. Nico Iamaleava.
Iamaleava.
I think I nailed it, Steve. So Nico Iamaleava is going to, have a couple of tough throws in the first half, and they're going to hang around a little bit. And, I think Tennessee's going to win by 21 points. And guess what 21 points is? It's not a cover for Tennessee. So give me Mississippi State.
I'm real torn on this one because Tennessee has not been covering lately. So, as far as just wanting to make a pick, I want to say Mississippi State. And I think that's what I'm going to go with. But I will say this. Tennessee's problem on offense has not really been Nico Iamaleava or scheme or anything like that. It's more been drops. I swear they should have had at least 3 touchdowns against Kentucky. They were just easy touchdowns that got dropped by receivers. Well, I think one of them, the tight end, got rocked pretty hard. I'm not blaming him for dropping it. But at the same time, they're doing what they need to do. It's just it's not executing well on the field. And at any minute, if they can figure that out, they could put up 50 on Mississippi State with no problem. I just don't. And I also hear y'all talking about, okay, I know they're going to be looking at Georgia next week, but they know they have a problem on offense right now that needs to be fixed on the field. So I feel like they're going to play as hard as they can trying to fix that problem. So I want to say that Tennessee's going to fix it this week and going to just destroy Mississippi State, but I just don't have faith in them right now getting that fixed. So I'm going to take Mississippi State because I don't like the points. Tennessee will win. How good they'll look, we'll see.
Yeah. And also the president, I think the president could have a little bit of a day because he hasn't had one the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Martin Van Buren is, again, it's just he has good policies on how he plays football. So,
yeah, Jeb, you alluded to it. Outside of the second half against Alabama, Tennessee's offense has just been kind of like a roller coaster all season, and they just haven't put up points like I thought they would with Nico and the weapons they have. Now they are going to beat Mississippi State, but that 24-point spread, that's tough for them to do. And they just let Kentucky just stay in the game last week, and Kentucky's offense is absolute garbage. So, I'm going to have to pick Mississippi State here. Cassidy's actually rolling with the balls, though.
Becky is taking Mississippi State because she likes the president as well.
Yeah.
I understand that. Van Buren's been playing pretty solid most of the season. We've talked about it a couple times on the show. I feel like Mississippi State has found a quarterback. My thing in this game, though, is, Jeb, you were talking about how you want it to come together for Tennessee, but it's been difficult for them all year on offense. They just can't seem to get clicking, And I said it last week. I picked Arkansas last week to cover against Ole Miss because of that very reason, that Ole Miss had, even though their offense statistically had looked great, they just weren't clicking on all cylinders. But I knew that they were due. At some point, they were going to get that game where they just, blew through and put up 50 burger on somebody. I didn't think it was going to be last week. Well, it happened to be last week. So I'm thinking the same thing for Tennessee. This is a really good game for them to get things together and that they can actually break through, get that offense clicking on all cylinders. Mississippi State has a terrible defense, as we all know, as we've all seen all season long. So I think Tennessee gets it together. I am not super confident that they can cover this 25-point spread, but I do think they get it done this weekend. And I think Nico has a big game, and I think their offense gets clicking.
Too many points for me, so I'll ride with the rest of y'all. Give me Mississippi State.
All righty. More picks for Mississippi State than I thought. All right, Bama LSU, Steve. Bama is 2.5-point favorites. We talked about it. So let's be quick on this since we discussed it in length. Give me your pick.
Alabama is going to run the ball. LSU struggles against running quarterbacks. I think that's going to be a problem for the Bayou Bengals. Give me Alabama.
Yeah, I'm going to take Alabama for all of those same reasons as I illustrated. Jalen Milroe, I think if they figure out how to run him, they'll be hell. Give me Bama.
Yes, I have complete faith in Bama, and I'm not picking them just because it would help Tennessee in the playoff standings. Bama.
Yeah, I'm picking LSU because after all what y'all just said, Alabama still cannot use their running backs to run the freaking ball. I don't know why. And I'm sorry. We went to Vandy with 40 Vandy fans and got beat. We went to Neyland Stadium, which is a whole lot tougher. Had 3 turnovers in the first half, couldn't capitalize on it. Then they rocked us in the second half. You really think we're going to be able to do something against LSU in Death Valley? Ain't happening. Go Tigers. I'm sorry. Until Alabama shows me something, this is the week. You better do it, Bama. Damn it.
Becky is taking LSU as well. She's copying Jake, just probably not as angrily.
Cassie's picking Alabama because she's a homer.
Fair enough. I think it's going to be difficult, like you said, Jake, for Alabama to run the ball. I know what we saw against Texas A&M a couple of weeks ago with LSU, but I like Blake Baker as a defensive coordinator. From where LSU started this year to where he got them to this point in the year, take away that A&M game, I think that they're going to be watching a lot of tape. They understand that they've got to be able to stop running quarterbacks. If the rain is a factor, I think that they are going to load the box, make sure that Alabama cannot run the ball. And I also think that I just don't trust Jalen Milroe right now. I mean, we've seen him. He's got happy feet in the pocket. He's having accuracy issues down the field. So if it comes down to it, I trust Garrett Nussmeier and those LSU weapons on the outside more than I do Jalen Milroe and this Alabama offense. And especially in Death Valley at night, I'm going to ride with the Tigers. So go Tigers for this one.
I will take Alabama. In this spot, honestly, I was thinking about it. Coming off a bye week, I think I trust Kalen DeBoer, although he's had a rocky start to his Bama tenure, more than I do Brian Kelly. I think he's going to have a good plan offensively. And, Steve, you said it, LSU struggles with running quarterbacks. So I like Alabama to get a close win here, although I hate picking against LSU in Tiger Stadium at night. But give me the Tide.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. All right, our last game is kind of a weird game. A game that we thought was going to be a monster game at the beginning of the season because of where Missouri sat and, you know, the credit we give and the respect we give to Oklahoma. This game has vastly changed in that regard. Oklahoma is 2.5-point dogs. Steve, are you buying them or are you buying Missouri?
Well, this is a really Big 8 game with the winners going to get Jimmy Johnson and the Miami Hurricanes down in the Orange Bowl. Apparently, there's so much history in this football game. This is one of the games that I'm excited about because of Oklahoma and Missouri. This is like their 95th meeting. So these are two programs that know each other pretty well, even though they kind of diverged whenever Missouri left the Big 12. So I'm looking forward for what can happen. Now, Brady Cook doesn't look like he's going to play. If Drew Pine struts out on that football field, Oklahoma's going to win that game outright. Just period. So I give me the Sooners to win this game. I think that Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners, they're kind of figuring some stuff out right now.
All right, yeah, I'm starting to agree with you, Steve, on Oklahoma. I think they with Jackson Arnold and the change at coordinator, and I think I think the right choice, what should have been the right choice, because I think Jeff Lebby wanted to take Finley with him. If I remember correctly, and Oklahoma made him co-coordinator, and now they finally gave him the full coordinator spot, and the offense actually looks competent now that, and then they're starting to get some pieces back. I like this Oklahoma team in this matchup. I don't know that I like them in every matchup, but I do like them in this one. I do think they're going to give Missouri some fits, even with a really bad offensive line, but I think they've finally got an idea of what they want to do. So give me the Sooners.
Listen, I'm going to say this right now. Alabama could beat LSU and then lose to Oklahoma. Oklahoma can beat this Alabama team.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Missouri's been a little bit of a disappointment this season, obviously, but I still think they're a better football team than Oklahoma. If it's in Missouri, damn, now I'm blanking on the name of that town.
Columbia.
I was going to say there's two of them in the SEC, and I can't remember the name. That's terrible.
Not very memorable.
Yeah, right.
In Columbia,
Search
I think Brady Cook will play. I do think there's a good chance he'll leave the game because that's what he seems to be doing a lot this season, is starting and then getting knocked out. But and I feel bad for the kid, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean he does. He keeps coming.
You're
back.
never going to keep him down.
I get knocked down.
Did I get up
again? You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down.
Up again.
Tucked up at the side. Yes, I think.
Chumbawamba.
Yeah.
I just think Missouri's a better team. I'm going with them at home if it's just as small of a spread.
You know, this game to me is so gross. I struggled until we got in here and when Steve, was telling the injury report that Brady Cook isn't going to play. More than likely, I picked Oklahoma. If Brady Cook does play, then Missouri's going to win this game. But if he doesn't, Oklahoma can win this. It's going to be close, though. But give me Oklahoma. And I believe Casty is taking Missouri. So
and Becky is taking Truman the Tiger and the Missouri Tigers as well.
All right.
I think I'm gonna go a little against the grain here. A couple of y'all picked Oklahoma, a couple Missouri. Maybe we may actually be split right down the middle here. I like Oklahoma in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Venables' defense, that defense is solid, and Mizzou just isn't good. I don't think Missouri is a good football team this year, and I think even if Brady Cook does play, I think Oklahoma gets them. The main stat to me here in this game is that Oklahoma, when are they at their worst? They're at their worst when they play somebody who has a solid defense, who can rush the quarterback, who can get their quarterback off schedule. They've had trouble with that all year. Missouri is not a good team for that. Missouri ranks in the back half of the SEC in sacks. They rank in the back half of the SEC in terms of tackles for loss. And if Jackson Arnold has a little bit of time, I think that people have thrown Jackson Arnold under the bus and just put a lot of the Oklahoma offensive struggles on him. But, as you guys know and have watched some of these games with Oklahoma, a lot of it's the offensive line play. Their offensive line is porous. And I don't think that Missouri is going to be able to exploit that. And if Jackson Arnold has a little bit of time, I think he's actually a really good quarterback. And there's a reason he was a 5-star. He's still got a lot of those intangibles. And the kid can play football when it comes down to it, when he's got time in the pocket. So I think Oklahoma is going to have a little time in the pocket for Jackson Arnold this week. I don't think Missouri is going to get after the quarterback like they've seen in previous weeks. And I like the fact that it's at home for Oklahoma. And I don't think Drinkwitz has a whole lot for Mizzou this year. So give me the Sooners.
Yeah, I am rolling with the Sooners too. I think I look at Oklahoma's schedule. They're at 5 wins right now. They go Missouri, and then they play Bama and LSU to close. So I think for them, this is their best chance to get to 6 wins and go to some ridiculous bowl, but that matters to players and coaches for the extra practice. So I like Oklahoma to go in there and get the win outright. So obviously that means they will cover.
This is one thing that's weird in this game. There's 3 teams in the SEC to where Oklahoma can beat you with their logo. And they have a psychological effect over Texas A&M, and Missouri because of all the years of history. This would be like Ole Miss and Mississippi State or LSU or whoever else playing Alabama. Oklahoma has not had that up until now. It would be a different story if they played A&M or something like that. Now, Texas is just too good. But this is a game that I think there's a chance that there's going to be a lot of nervous energy in that stadium whenever that OU on the side of the helmet is going up and down the field.
It's true.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's true. But OU does shake at the name Reggie McNeil. I just want to make sure we know that.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
That's it.
Is that a
That's
wrap?
all.
Is that what they call? Is that what they call in the business a wrap?
2 minutes, Corey.
The show is in the can.
The show's in the can. Let's get on out of here. All right.
Yeah, bring us home, Corey. Land us here. We're heading down.
We're heading.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading for our final descent here into week 11. And I want to thank you for flying SEC After Dark Airlines. And
No Blair.
enjoy.
No Blair.
Yeah.
No Blair.
That's not Blair. That's every pilot ever.
Yeah.
Fly.
Yeah.
Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah. It's like half Blair, half Quagmire.
Giggity.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is his co-pilot.
Oh my God.
What's your Victor?
You try dragging Walton's ass down the court for 48 minutes.
Don't let us down. We're all counting on you.
Yeah. My dad says you're lazy.
I'm sorry. I love that movie. I love that movie.
Oh Lord.
What a classic.
And then you have Soul Plane, which is another classic. I mean,
All right, wrap it up, Corey. I got to go.
yeah, so do I. All right. So thanks for joining us here on SEC After Dark. We thank you. Steven Willis, the king of all of Ole Miss podcasts. I think he's up to 30 million subscribers now. So check him out. Jeb Beecham, he's finally at home. He's got Pee Wee Herman on the shelf over there.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to eventually do another podcast. We'll see. Jake Thomas, Tide Talk Live. Maybe Tide Talk After Dark.
Yeah. All right.
Or
Just
Roll
Bama
Talk,
After Dark.
Bama After Dark.
or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
But Tide Talk Live could be on the move. Maybe.
Kalen DeBose After Dark.
Yeah, there you go. And then Hammer and the Boss Man, Biscuits and SEC.
Pressure Sky High After Dark.
Biscuits and SEC. If you're missing out, you're truly missing out. They have a great show there. And together we join forces to bring you the greatest SEC show on the planet.
It's like Voltron.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And with that, we are out. Go Dogs, anchor down.
Hotty toddy.
Go Hoosiers.
Gig 'em.
Go Vols.
Roll
There you
Tide.
War Eagle. I don't know.